Okay, up here on the top right of Cloud Kingdom, we have the next player in for SlayerS in this best-of-9 series. It's going to be the blue Terran Miso, and it's his job to try to put a stop to this guy. It is Evil Genius's Huck, the red Protoss down in the bottom left.
And Huck's played pretty well so far. His PvP has been on point. We'll see how he handles his PvT now. I actually haven't seen too much of Huck's PvT recently, so I'm a little curious how he's going to perform, what his strategies are going to be. We've seen a good mix of aggression, like super aggression and super passive builds out of Protoss players lately.
And Miso, I mean, I didn't even know he was Terran, so I can't really claim to know his playstyle, but hopefully he shows us some good games. Obviously, you know, I can talk about a little bit of things that we've seen in PvT recently, though. Obviously, ghosts are the huge thing that a lot of Terran players especially try to get to, but quick expands, passive macro games, like you said, seem to be the order of the day for TVP, but Huck, he's been reasonably aggressive both of the first two games. Obviously, it was a different matchup, but if that's how he's feeling, maybe he's going to continue to try to be winning these 10-minute games, 10, 15-minute games.
Huck is always on top of the current metagame, though, and clearly was there too, opening with very common expands, 2-gate expands into two different kinds of pressure. Once was into a robo, and Sapak was a little bit more passive. Once was into that quick 5-gate to try and disrupt the 2-gate robo expand, which he did perfectly. So, yeah, we'll see what Huck can move in and do now. He's going to pick up on this up at the front. Of course, there was already a supply depot that was started.
Could kill it.
Yeah, we've actually seen this a few times where players forget about it. He's going to kill it. That's he cancels it right at the very end, but that's still 25 resources lost there.
And now Huck's locked in.
Huck's locked in, but this barracks has been delayed for a little while longer. He's finally starting to go after this, but this barracks is still sitting around and hasn't done anything. This is longer than this orbital command isn't actually morphing in at the moment.
That's true. There's 400 minerals available now. Miso almost could have said, screw it, I'm going to build another command center since he delayed me so long. It kind of reminds me of you know, blocking a hatchery from a Zerg player. Sometimes Zerg players will just say, okay, I'll just stay to one base. Or, you know, messing with a Protoss player's early economy, it's like, all right, if you want to pin me inside my base, I'll just 4-gate you, 5-gate you, 6-gate like, go for these crazy aggressive builds instead. But we do have Huck trying to assassinate one of these SCVs, just minding his own business, trying to mine minerals for SlayerS Miso. Huck does have some of the most annoying probes in the game, and he pretty much always has.
Yeah, no exception now. Of course, he does confirm the presence of another command center before he leaves as well, so we got all the information he wanted out of that probe. That probe did more than its share of damage, but can Huck follow that up? Of course. He has a Stalker on the way. I believe there's already a Zealot up the front. There is. An SCV did sneak through, only taking one swipey from that Zealot. Man,
when you just quickly moused over the next Miso, I swear I read New Mexico on the guy's name. Yeah, he did it again. New Mexico. All right, either way, Stalker's out now, so this SCV is certainly doomed. He's going to continue on and just probably try and take one of these Zelnaga towers by this point. Could also poke at the front of Miso since he knows that the command center was going up. The Stalker and Zealot combo could try to be annoying to the front line at the top of the ramp there.
That's very true. Miso going for that third command center as well, so playing like some other Terran players that we've seen recently. Tasia in particular. This is going to be a total of 3 barracks here in a second, though, and you know, even with just one, since the Stalker isn't actually coming along, all he needs is 1 or 2 Marines up at the front to stop the Zealot, and 5 will actually do the trick.
Yep, 5 will do the job of 4 pretty well.
Yes.
In most things, unless, you know, there's only 4 spots for people or something like that, then 5 can be a trouble to have. Gateway coming up again now for Huck. That's going to put him up at 3 once these are done. That's the number of command centers that we've got for Miso, so, you know, equitable. Ooh, Dark Shrine being built extremely quick in this game, so DTs could be a very big threat for Miso. He doesn't have an engineering bay, obviously. He will have multiple orbital commands, though, so scans could end up saving Miso here.
Yeah, I mean, DT expands have been a thing in PvT recently, and they're pretty powerful, and you certainly have to deal with them. But the DTs could make their way in there, cleave through a few units to begin with. If there is an engineering bay that's put down any time in the next, like, 15 or 20 seconds, though, it's not going to be that big of a deal to me. So Andy's going to have enough scans that he should be able to remain relatively safe, even after the DT passes through and kills a couple of SCVs. It'll suck. It'll be all right for Huck, but it will still be dealt with unless we see an engineering base soon.
I wonder if I wonder if Huck's going to try to do some sneaky warp-in tactics again like we saw in the previous game, or even build something like a warp prism to get ready. But if you can test the front and see that there's no turrets up. Obviously, you can test with the Zealots right now and see that there are no turrets up, but you will see the number of bunkers. DTs should be able to trickle past that, and as long as the gate is open at the top, he could actually do some significant damage even in the main if Miso doesn't pick up on it. So 2 DTs are going to be warped in near the middle of the map. They're going to begin their quest. You can see the little shimmer of the cloaked units. Miso actually does have his units right there, so if he notices the shimmer or notices once attacks start happening, yes, scans are going to be possible. There is actually one DT being exposed in the mineral line. The other one on the ramp is killed, and the DT does slip away just out of range of that scan.
Yes, he does, and he's going to come back and swipe through a couple more units as well. How much energy is available? There's a scan in 2 seconds, so he'll have that up momentarily. Engineering Bay is already being started, trying to go through this bunker up at the front. Oh, but that DT was just in range and allows the SCV to start repairing it up, so Miso is going to hold on for now. Out of all of that, 8 workers in total have been killed. It secures a 7-worker advantage for Huck at the moment. He will be able to chrono boost out a few more probes here momentarily. And he's going to try and swing his way in one more time.
On the production tab, did he start building an engineering bay yet? Because I feel like that should probably have happened by this point. Can you go to production?
Oh, yes, he did build an engineering bay. He actually did.
So
I'm sorry, I was
there's a turret. There's a turret already going up now for Miso, so that once this DT comes back in, he can stop relying on scans so much and be able to obviously just see them inherently through the turrets. But he really could just surround this DT. The only problem is he's sacking a lot of Marines just to be able to get that turret up at the front. And he does actually end up using another scan just to finally clear that out. The whole time, though, Huck has been building infrastructure back at home. He's got 3 more gateways on the way. That'll put him at 6 total, as well as a robotics facility tucked in the back there to obviously accommodate and complement this huge Tier 1 ground force that we have from Huck so far.
Yeah, that's right, and there are no forges out to the best of my knowledge, so that's the one real disadvantage that he's going to have, is that Miso, being a bit supply blocked embarrassingly there, has to call down supplies, but Miso is going to be on 1-1 upgrades much, much faster than his opponent is. Now, the great advantage through all of this is even though that Huck killed a few workers, and he does have a pretty significant worker advantage, there's still a 3rd orbital command down for Miso at the moment. He will be able to recover with some mules, and we'll see if his army can become beefy enough to be able to fight back what his opponent has. As we can see, though, there is a robotics bay, 2 forges on the way now, and a 3rd base, so Huck going to play out a little bit longer macro game.
Yep, Huck covering all of his bases. Obviously, the Colossi are going to do great against huge Marine forces like this. If he has an answer for the medevac soon, that'll be great as well. If he gets enough anti-air, then he can deal with both of those. +1/+1 are obviously very nice to have, as Miso will be having +1/+1 combat shields and concussive shells all ready to go in the next few moments. I like the pylon placement here. Obviously, it's to help spot for those incoming medevacs. Also allows him different warp-in locations later on, should he need to use them. But yeah, this medevac's going to be spotted pretty easily. He knows the medevacs are out on the field, obviously, because they just took out that pylon there. He is going to immediately see this medevac incoming, and now it's just on him to respond to this.
And even though he's going to lose this pylon, losing that 100 resources right there is well worth the... unless he loses sentries, and then that's devastating. Never mind. Take that back. If he had just lost 100 resources for the pylon, it would have been worth it because he stopped the drop before it did anything. But then he ended up losing 250 total resources, and maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty tough spot for Huck. Obviously, medevac's being able to lift and not having a whole lot of anti-air for himself to be able to use is going to allow Miso to actually get out of there with no harm done. And he's got another drop approaching from the top side. Nope, I'm just...
just kidding.
You know, I'm just imagining that Marine was a medevac full of 8 other Marines.
That's right.
I'm calling him fat. He was so big on the minimap. He was so big on the minimap that I thought he was a medevac full of 8 Marines.
Your brave level is so right now. Let's see here. As 8 Marines, that's a pretty good killing force. And Miso, he's killed 350 resources of damage without losing a single Marine right there. That is as efficient as it gets, and his control has been on point. Good scan from him as well to pick off that observer, and immediately loads up a drop and starts making his way out.
It'd be interesting in this game if you could just have your Marines shoot up blindly and still be able to hit like observers and things, so you don't have to use the scanner. It's like, well, I know it's there. Can I just shoot up a little bit and hope I wing it? Oh, this medevac is so close to dead. Huck barely got snagged on his own pylon. Might have been able to get it, but maybe not. Either way, the medevac is in no man's land now. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be out of there, but there's another drop happening at the natural. A couple of Marauders tucked inside of this one, so that could be tough for Huck to deal with. Good micro there from Miso, not losing any of those units. Oh, and the medevac did actually manage to drop a couple of Marines before going down. Now the big force from Miso pushing into this third base. This is going to be the one that Huck can't deal with, and he is going to lose this Nexus for sure.
Wow, that was just torched really, really quickly. You can see the power of those upgrades coming through. Of course, because of the Chrono Boost, Huck is actually going to be catching up. But look at the position he gives himself. Even against the charge lots, he walls himself into such a great spot. Huck didn't want to try and risk any of his Colossi while he was picking off the drops off to the side as well. But Miso has done so much damage here.
Yeah, Miso has done a ton of damage. He's got Huck basically scrambling all around his main, natural, and third to be able to try to save what he can. Obviously lost the third to this large force of Miso. Miso very quick on the pickups to nullify the damage from these Colossi. Manages to save a ton of his bio. These Stalkers do have Blink, correct? As he had that Dark Shrine up so long ago.
I don't actually think they do. No, he got charged first, yeah.
Okay, so he does not have Blink. He's going to let the medevacs actually manage to escape and heal up their payload.
Well, one was killed, but yeah.
Yeah, Miso does have lots of stuff coming from back in his base, so he's got Viking production in full swing now to try and deal with these Colossi that he spotted.
And unfortunately for Huck, Miso has been pretty efficient in cleaning all these up. I mean, he lost one of the medevacs, but still, we see a pretty great advantage for him. He's already finished up 2-2, so he's on even upgrades with a Protoss opponent that's been doing nothing but chrono boosting upgrades out of Forges. It's a great spot to be in.
That's right, +3 armor on the way for Miso with lots and lots and lots of bio. He's got a supply lead of about 18, and if he can manage to defend this base and actually manage to kill all these Colossi, that's going to be a huge value for him. He is going to lift the orbital command. It does explode. I did not know how much damage was on it, but obviously showering metal scraps all over the SCVs. But there's a ton of Marauders here. The Vikings are not totally unopposed, but wow, that's a lot of burning Marines as well. It's really pretty close. I thought Miso would have the forces to be able to deal with this pretty quickly, but Huck is actually putting up a fight.
That's because a lot of his are actually down at the bottom, and he still has enough to power his way through 3 Colossi because Huck's attention was elsewhere. And that is a devastating force for Miso. He can restart this base here in just a bit. Huck has a few charge lots that are running around the side, but as we see, this drop is continuing to be loaded up. It's going to pick off more tech, and Huck is in a bad spot at the moment.
Miso could go for that very valuable tech, or he could just go straight for the probe line. I'm surprised he actually is going for that pylon first. He could have snagged a lot of probe kills before this warp-in forced him away, but that's all right. He unpowered Twilight Council and a Dark Shrine that aren't able to do anything. So +3 on the way for Miso. Didn't he just have +3 armor on the way? Did an engineering bay get killed somewhere?
No. That's right.
It's just that slow?
Yes.
Oh, all the way before Huck even attacked in. All right, anyway, Miso has not left the base of Huck. He's going to continue trying to power down these buildings, and a new pylon was built by Huck, but this main is going to be not as valuable as it once was anyway. It's nearly mined out. Miso is attacking into the natural pretty much unopposed. These Colossi on the high ground and Stalkers are pretty much all that Huck has to be able to deal with this. Miso, still with just a ton of units on the ground and a couple of Vikings in the air, is going to be forced to retreat.
Man, this is such... I mean, it feels like a very dirty way. Oh, as a medevac does get picked off there. To play TVP, it's very just pull your opponent apart, slap some units against a couple of structures, and try and take them out. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad way to play in any way, shape, or form. I actually think it's a great way to play, but clearly he's a little less concerned with throwing a couple of units away, but rather just setting his opponent back and keeping him kind of off kilter.
Yeah, if he can force Huck to have to look in multiple places, obviously that's going to give him a bit of an advantage with the extremely high DPS army that he's building, stimmed Marines and Marauders. If your opponent looks away for even a second, they can just overpower and envelop a Protoss Death Ball or mini Death Ball or whatever you have. But Huck at this point, posting up at the Zelnaga Tower on his side of the map. He does have a little bit of vision on what Miso's doing with an observer nearby, but that's okay. Miso's just going to move out anyway. He does have quite a superior supply count now, 174 to 131, just getting higher and higher
and
above
3-3.
his opponent. Yeah, 3-3 upgrades, as Huck is now just starting his 3-3 upgrades. But he does have Templar Archives done. He is, you know, warping in a couple of Archons now to try and deal with this Bioforce a little bit better. But yeah, this main is mined out. It's not even really doing a whole lot for him, and Miso is getting ready to move in, it looks like.
And his control has just been fantastic throughout the course of this game. So, okay, here comes Miso. He's going to try and engage this force. He posts up in a pretty good spot with Vikings. Unfortunately, now the anti-air is in position, so Miso has to fall back, but he has a really nice concave down at the bottom of the ramp. Picks off one of the Colossi.
Ooh.
Still 3 more remaining, though, and will he have enough to just power his way through it? 2 more Colossi falling, just 1 more left alive. Miso has a lot of Marauders. He doesn't have a lot of energy left on the Medivacs, though, but once again, just kind of throwing everything he has against his opponent all the time, and Huck is now reduced to just 65 supply.
Those Marines are still doing damage inside the main. Huck also did not decisively win that fight, so he is in just a crippled state right now, pulling tons of probes off of the third base mineral line to try and deal with this, but Miso just packs up and heads home. He's not under any threat of actually losing those Medivacs. He's going to land his Viking as well to try and keep this push going long enough for these reinforcements to arrive, and the blink forward right into the reinforcements is going to give Miso some free Stalker kills, and he's just going to continue pushing in here. Huck, his economy is crippled, and he's down by now 80 supply, so this is looking really, really rough for him.
Yeah, and
was
a lot of
EMP
that was
also?
tied up in workers. Yes, it was an EMP, as a matter of fact. EMPing probes, not too often that you see that. And the Marauders that are here are still, even with their limited health, going to be enough to force Huck out of the game. He finally goes down. He's done his job, but SlayerS is on the board.
All right, SlayerS Miso coming out of left field, taking the victory against E.G. Huck, who already knocked out Genius and who was the other Protest player? Arthur.
Yes.
So Huck getting some quick damage done for his team, but Miso coming out and putting SlayerS on the board. This is actually, you know, getting back to a more normal series score, 2-1. Most of our Premier League matches have gone the full 9 games. Let's not forget the first 4 all went 9 games, and I think another one did last week, but either way, just a crazy amount of parity in this Premier League. All these teams are just so incredibly close in skill level that we'll see these 9-game sets, 2-1. Pretty good equitable start for the series so far.
Yeah, and coming up next for Evil Geniuses is going to be Puma, a very strong Korean Terran player himself. So we have TVT action. It's going to be played out on Daybreak. As a reminder to everyone, of course, we are giving away a sweet TT Esports headset. And if you want to try and win this, and I don't know what this does, I guess this motion like makes it more enticing or something.
It shakes it.
I guess
moves it around.
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, you guys need to head over to tinyurl.com/TTEsports2. That is the number 2. So tinyurl.com/TTEsports2, and we will be giving the lucky winner of that contest one of these headsets from TT Esports.
Terrific. Yeah, go win a giveaway and give your mom a nice birthday present.
That's right. All she wants is a gaming headset.
All she wants is a gold-plated, awesome TT Esports headset. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what all mothers want from their sons and daughters.
It's true. There
Love,
you go.
affection, TT Esports headsets. That's it.
All right, guys. Well, let's run to that commercial break. We'll be back for game number 4 in just a bit.